So as far as this team here, they struggle to score, and that doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon.
No, and they tend to get really good goaltending, and that probably won't either. And that's what's keeping them right on this interesting spot. 1 point into the playoffs above the first team out, and 5 points out of a top 10 pick.
And that's about where they've been
for the last month,
for so long now. Anyway,
and again, I don't think we're going to get clarity in 2 weeks. You'd hope by March 9 or 7th, whenever the deadline is, that Connie has more clarity than we do now, because you can spin it either way pretty easily. Yeah. They can't score. They're not good enough. They're an injury away from trouble.
What clarity are you looking for?
Well, if you're 5 points out in March, it's
but why
really
are you
easy. So if you're 5 points in March, it's really easy. That's clarity. It's be in or out. Don't be within
so
1
March.
point of
It has nothing to do with how you. It's March 1st is the only thing that's giving you clarity.
No, it's the deadline.
It's not clarity that you know what your team is by March 1st. It's clarity that it's.
What if it's 3, not 5? Like 1 win or loss?
Oh yeah, I get it.
If it's the exact same
it's
fucking
not binary.
scenario?
It's a scale, right? But I just think Craig Connor is.
What if you haven't done anything to help yourself and you could have?
Absolutely. What if you're not? You believe
because that's what we won't do. And I don't want to be sorry, Ryan, but I don't want to. What we won't do is go, Jesus, too bad Conroy didn't add a guy in January that could score.
Yeah, you could spin it the other way. Let's say you do add and you miss anyway. Like, Jesus, we should have sold Anderson in January when you could have got this haul.
You can sell March 1st.
We can spin this both ways.
It's not going to give you more clarity if you don't do something.
You just have a greater assurance of what this group is.
You don't know what this group is?
Well, you have an idea, but you don't know how healthy you are, and you don't know what your needs are in March.
Well,
they could be drastically different than right now.
So you're going to tell me there's what do you mean? So
is Zary back in March? That's an important factor for me.
For sure. If he's not, it's even more important to go fucking get someone.
Totally agree. How healthy you're in the blue line, that matters. Where are you in the standings? That matters. Is Dustin Wolf still playing, elite?
What I want to understand is, are you going for the playoffs or not? And are you gonna just?
I think they'll make their minds up in March. I really do. As silly as that might sound to you to not make up your mind now, but I don't think they're gonna rush a team that just isn't that good. But I also don't think they're gonna tear down a group that's played above, I guess, their expectation.
You're not wrong. It's
I understand the frustration, but I do believe that's what they're going to do, is just sit and wait and let the team signal for them.
I just feel like you're going to be where you are.
Probably.
You're going to be a couple points in or out.
It's the most likely spot.
And if a 2 point either way is going to completely change your philosophy, I find that kind of hard to believe.
It wouldn't completely, but it would, it's everything's on the spectrum. It's not trade or don't.
That's kind of how you're shaping it. If you're 5 points in or 5,
10 points is a big gap. So 5 into 5 out is a huge difference in philosophy. If you're 3 out versus 5 out,
we just said that we believe we'll be in a similar spot. So don't give us the 10-point swing, because that's not the conversation we're having. If they're 10 points out of a playoff spot, yeah, real easy.
Very easy, yeah.
But we don't believe that will be the case. So I'm right. So give us an answer for now. So just still wait.
If they're 1 point on March 7, let's say they're 1 point above Vancouver for the final playoff. So that's where they sit today, game split.
Right.
Then you add conservatively.
So if that's your thought, and then to further that, if you think it's probably a safe bet, that's about where we're going to be. That's where we've been for the last month, 8 weeks. That's probably where we'll be in another 4-6 weeks. What if we made that deal now to add to try and help us? When that deadline rolls around, are we ahead of where we would be if we don't get something done?
That's the whole point.
Maybe
is that decision.
I understand that case is it's legit, but I mean,
it doesn't make a deal any easier to do right now.
No, and if you're selling, are you not asking for more now if you're going to forego the bidding war at the deadline? Like, you could spin it so many ways here. They don't seem to have great clarity on Zary's timeline.
He's skating, apparently.
Looking better, but again, does skating mean 3 days, 3 weeks, ligaments? 3 months? We got to ask Payne. He knows.
What was the injury?
Let's not side. I actually like this conversation, because I guarantee you these are the conversations.
100% are. And I think the overarching thing that's probably stopping them from making a big deal is that when they all sat around this summer, they said, look, we like a lot of the guys in here. We like the culture we've been. We didn't like the circus that surrounded this team last year. I don't want guys in the trade block. And you probably really like the job that Ryan Huska and your leadership group has done in creating a culture where guys are working really hard and like coming to the rink. They had a much more talented group 2 years ago that had no interest in being in the Saddle Dome. They hated coming to work with a Hall of Fame coach and a much better group of players. They hated showing up to work. They didn't like each other. They were fighting. And so if you really believe that, okay, maybe we could get in if we add, but I actually do think in 4 to 8 years is our chance to do something special, I wouldn't get too wound up about 1 year where you play over your shoes. So let's just wait. And if it's there in March, yeah, we'll add.
That's a very, I'm sitting in my treetop, like, that's so 4 to 8. What you don't need 4 to 8 years out. That's
well, I don't know what their horizon is, but they have long-term plans here. They'll have a when does Zane Perrick hit his prime? It's not next year.
You're putting a lot of stock in a kid that's.
I'm putting a lot of stock in. If you put a collection of 5 first-rounders together, they're not all going to be great, but that will be your future core. Most of those players, like. And I don't think they're done drafting high. I know they probably won't this year. What if you get a Dustin Wolf injury next fall? Are you convinced this team is anywhere near where they are in the standings? Do they have the capacity? Of course
not. But if Dominic Hasek was hurt, we don't go to the Stanley Cup Finals. You can't play something shitty might happen to us.
Well, but when your team is playing this far over their heads, yes, you do have to consider that. Like you're one guy away from not being in the spot.
What do you mean by over their heads?
Do you think with league average net minding, where are they in the standings? I'm asking what you think. I don't know.
Crosby, this Penguins don't win. What is stupid? It doesn't matter. It's what you have in the room. So is this what they are, or are they just lucky? Because that's what you're saying by making that comment. Wolf is on your team. He is playing that position. He is stopping those pucks. That is not over your head. Do you know what I mean? Like
I understand what you're saying. I didn't like. Can you where do you think they'd be with average net minding? I would like to hear the answer.
We have Dustin Wolf. Why are we having average net minding?
Yeah, why do you need to?
Because even Hall of Fame goalies have average years. Like I think this team could pick in the top.
So then, if they's going to have an average year, it's not this year. Then we should be all more excited to go.
If you add a dynamic forward, like say a top 6 guy, how do you like your odds against Vegas, Edmonton?
I don't like my
Dallas,
odds in 4 years against.
So maybe that weighs into their decision making as well.
That's
8 days in jet fuel. It'd be nice to get in, but I'm not giving up another second.
And you could, and
that's a fine answer.
And now I'm cherry picking. You could be in the mid 2000s and say, you know what, we're not going to do anything. We're going to wait for these first rounders to all play together. When Nemes and Berchi and Jankowski all come,
one of those is
we want to be ready.
How many top 10 picks in there? 0.
What's that?
What do we have now?
Well, the caliber of prospect isn't as high.
But what do we have now?
Like when you
what do we have now?
Nemes, what do you have now?
How many top 10 picks do we have now?
So if they're top, that's why I have the highest hopes for Perrick. Yeah.
Okay, which is great, but you have one.
Right.
So you're saying that because there wasn't one there, like Berchi was 14th.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Do you know my point? And what makes you believe? This is fun to argue with. What makes you believe that Wolf next year is going to be mediocre and the team's going to be worse?
I think it'll be great. No, I think he'll be fine.
Then what are you stacking the thoughts on these top early picks that you're going to get?
Oh, I just think the more first round cuts you take,
that's
the better.
Fine, but you have.
I look at Washington.
You're putting the pause on this team for 3-4 years.
No,
until Perrick and these other top picks come due.
Incorrect. I'm not going to waste valuable future assets for the next 2 to 3 years. Like you could trade your first this year, next year. Vegas is first, New Jersey's first. Don't do that. That's what I'm saying. If you want to add a second pair defenseman for a second or third rounder, okay.
I still don't know where you're getting to these high picks.
What do you mean where you're getting?
Well, you just said that if you have top 10 picks and you can rely on them being really good, and that's 4 or 5 years out, it's going to be.
So how are they getting them?
Well, I mean, they clearly have one from this year. They don't have others, to your point. I think it's not crazy to think they could have a top 10 pick this year. They're 5 points out of it. And if they're out of the playoffs by 2-3 points, it would be pretty silly not to play a little more Dan Vladar and a little more. Let's look at Solovyov and Stromgren and Kuznetsov and Jeremy Poirier. You should, once you feel like you've made the decision not to go for the playoffs, if that arises, you can stick handle your way into a top 10 pick, and you could be looking at like a 6'5" right shot center like Roger McQueen, who's dealing with back injuries and slides out of the top 5 where I think he'd be picked all day.
Well, I hope his back heals.
I do too. Yeah.
Stem cells, kid.
But no, like I'm not on the train that they're never going to pick in the top 10 again.
I don't disagree with you on trying to build with really high end talent and drafted kids. I just don't know that you're going to get there. We've had this debate, argument, conversation a lot. It doesn't feel like a team that's positioned to fall that far back.
They are 1 year into a rebuild.
Why?
Right.
So
that's why.
So if the other teams in the league who are in that, can you pull up the standings?
The bottom 10?
Not the bottom 10, even
What do you want?
the teams that are fighting for a playoff spot that are around the Flames.
So St. Louis, Vancouver, Utah, Seattle.
Not even out west, because I'm talking. So where you to get you in the top
Columbus,
10,
Montreal, Ottawa, Boston.
So if things continue on and you're all kind of in the same boat, but you're closer to having a top 10 pick, well, we're going to play Vladar more. Why aren't the other teams going to throw in the towel? To pause you out,
like just in a different spot in their life cycle. I don't think Columbus is going to try to pause any positive developments there. I think they want this young team winning. I feel the same way about Montreal.
So you think that
and Philadelphia?
I just think that I think that's a pipe dream to think that if other teams are going, well, we might as why doesn't Columbus want a top?
So if the
10
Rangers
pick?
are in the same spot, you think they're going to start tanking?
How much worse than
the
Flyers and Habs and Blues and Ducks and Utah are you going to be?
You have to be 3, 4, 5 points worse. That's it. So 1 point a month, Dean.
It's
not crazy.
You're very happy with that point.
No, but it's just that people are
very happy.
You're going to have to pass
point.
6 or 7 teams. It's like, well,
no, you're very smart.
Montreal's been much better for the last 2 months than they have. New York has not yet played to their ceiling. Philadelphia is a team that's trying to build, not, in year 1 of a rebuild. St. Louis clearly is trying to win this year.
What are the Flames
if
not trying to build?
What's that?
What are the Flames then?
They've built culture. They found a netminder. They've got good kids playing in big roles. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, that's not a failure.
Interesting how that 1 point would only put them down, but there's one more point a month.
Can't be had.
Yeah, if you think you can outperform,
that means nothing. But
no, Dean, that's an outcome for
Dean.
Sure. Okay, well, what do you want to call me? Should I call you Mr. Sunshine? Like, what's your nickname?
It's
no,
like
it's just I just sit here and I listen to it.
If you think you can be better than the Rangers the rest of the way, go ahead. I don't think you're going to be.
That's the only thing you take into account. That's how you're going to run your franchise, is how you're going to be compared to the Rangers.
I mean, the whole group of teams that we just talked about.
No,
Detroit's coming, Montreal's coming, Rangers are better than you. Islanders are playing well right now. St. Louis is adding. Yeah, like I think you're still very reasonably a bottom 10 roster in this league. And look, you look at some of those teams down there, Anaheim's going to be better. Columbus has already started to turn the corner. Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit, turning the corner.
So what is the next 5 years then?
What
do you do?
Well, I think what you do, what Connie do is you wait. At the deadline, you make a decision to add or sell some pieces, and then you continue to
you still trade Rasmus.
If the offers
I
right.
don't know what you do with Weegar because he's good.
No, you keep Weegar.
You just not play him. You got to play Vladar more.
Why do you want Weegar over Rasmus?
So then
because you're probably committed to less 35 plus seasons of hockey on the blue line.
I don't know how old Weegar is. So.
Well, he's got less term left. Is more the point. He's got 5 years left on his deal. You've got theoretically 9 years of Rasmus left, and he turns 29 in the fall. No, but you could have either or. They're just similar parts to me. They're leaders. They're right shot top pair guys. They can wear letters. They're really good players.
So
Other teams would covet them.
I just don't. It's
you don't have to trade Rasmus. That's fine.
I'm not even in a disagreement with you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as clear as you make it out to be.
No, of course it's not.
But you do. Be bad. Get top picks. Be good.
No,
that's your thing.
I continue to tell you that it is very risky and there's no guarantees.
Yeah, but you can't just add a caveat and say that's I'm not.
Show me how you win a cup with this group. I don't see it without more high picks.
I don't see how they're in a playoff spot right now, but they are.
If you guys want to crush me because it's not a perfect plan, of course it's not perfect. There's one cup a year. Show me a team with pieces like the Flames that win the cup.
What is that?
That's what I want them to do. I don't want them to get into 6th. And maybe 1 year get to the second round. I've watched that my entire adult life. They've been shit for 1 year in the playoffs. Basically, they weren't. Is it okay to try to win a cup, Dean? Boomer, Mr. Sunshine. Is it okay to try to win a cup?
No one's.
Can I try to win a cup, please?
I'm just going to let you go and do the rest of this. We've got a Richmond's Pub read. Then there's a Booster Juice and a Village Honda. Because there's no talking to you. You're wound right up.
Well, I'm waiting to hear your plan. You just pick apart mine. Like, seriously, my pen's consistent.
It is. What we're arguing about is I don't disagree with you. And I think if you go back over the last couple of years of our take on this whole organization,
you're with me on this.
Build from the ground up. The problem I'm having is they've found a culture and a coach and a goaltender. And
that's what I'm saying.
And so what's sustainable in there? What isn't? I don't know.
Everyone loves get first overall picks, get high picks, and get really good players. But what are you going to do right now with this team? Fire your coach, get rid of this goalie who's suddenly very good?
Of course not.
What are you going to do?
You keep Wolf, you keep your young players, you keep this coach that's helped with this culture, you keep Backlund, who you don't like despite having a vastly better culture since he was named captain. You listen, you take calls.
That's him.
You see, this is he's not a part of it at all. It's everyone else. It's not the captain. It's everyone else that deserves responsibility for good culture, not him. Cool. But
you said it was
calls
all
on Rask.
You said it was
not all him.
Well, it had nothing to do with the guys leaving.
It has lots.
Why
to do
did
with,
he allow those guys to be so?
It's okay to say something nice about him.
I do.
But no, you take calls on Rasmus at least. Don't you want to know what he's worth?
Yes,
I would like to know. I don't have to trade him, but I'd like to know what he's worth.
100%. I take calls.
Is that crazy? Do I need to be crucified for that take? That you take calls on a guy who's expiring in a year?
Okay, you're beating a dead horse.
So that's what I would do. And then you continue to really have to kick ass in the draft and development game.
You know what? That's probably the gist of the whole conversation. How are you going to manage your draft picks? And how are you going to differentiate yourself? Because that's the only way. I don't think you're going to the bottom three and getting the superstar. So how, if you're 10th or 8th or 14th,
you could, if you get someone the caliber of Barrick every year at 9, that's unbelievable. That's totally awesome. Yeah. And again, like Rantanen was not a top 3 guy. There's stars all around this league that are very good players that weren't top 3. It's nice if you can get one. I'm with you guys on that. With Wolf, it's the bottom out looks way harder. The bottom. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.